you and I, we had the PI department here at Onal, and some clients don't know what constitutes personal injury, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. What are the types of cases that we take on?
So here at Onal Galant, we handle all types of injury cases, especially motor vehicle accidents. We do a lot of trip and fall. We do medical malpractice. Really, the theory behind all these cases is that there has to be three elements present in every case. You have to have responsibility, you have to have negligence, and you have to have injury. And the injury has to be directly related by the negligence. So what do I mean by responsibility? Responsibility is the entity that had caused the accident has to have some sort of responsibility over the safety of the individual. So, for example, let's say we're talking about an incident where an accident happens in a park. Okay? The first question is, who owns that park? Who runs that park? Who manages that park? Who controls? Who repairs that park? Let's say this park is, for example, run by the city, a municipality. Then the lawsuit would have to be, or the claim would have to be directed at the municipality. But let's say also that this park is a municipal park, but also is adjacent to a private school, right? Someone may ask, can we sue the private school? Well, does the private school have responsibility over that park? No. Unless research, if you do further research and discover and you find that the private school does have some sort of ownership or maintenance or supervision over that park, then they would have to have that responsibility, right? So in every case, you have to think about the word responsibility and who has that responsibility towards the individuals who got hurt. Now, the second element is negligence, right? So what do we mean by negligence? It would have to be some sort of act or omission that constitutes negligence. Now, some people may come to you and say, somebody hit me and punched me in the face. Okay, that's not negligence. That's an intentional act. That's a different theory. It's a different type of case. Torts are mainly negligence. It's the failure to do something or doing something the wrong way. So, for example, let's say you're looking at an escalator case, okay? The maintenance company for the escalator come every month. They come and maintain it. However, this time they failed to apply the necessary lubricant, like oil. And, a week later, somebody's on the escalator and the escalator malfunctions and they fall, okay? That's considered negligence. But on another case, let's say the escalator is functioning fine. Somebody wants to, have a fun day. He wants to do parkour, okay? And they just jump over this escalator and they do all these jumps and they fall. In this case, there would be no negligence. Why? Because it was an intervening act by the individual themselves that has caused the accident. The escalator itself was functioning fine. So now we're talking about responsibility. We're talking about negligence. Now the next final element is injury. So I always like to use examples because it usually just simplifies these theories. Let's go with an example of somebody who got hurt at the escalator. 2 days later, they got checked up by the doctor. All the radiology results came out negative. The pain is gone. Good for them. Usually there's no case there. Why? Because there's no injury. Now, let's say you have somebody who was at the escalator malfunctioned, and they sustained a fractured femur requiring surgery, open reduction, something major. Now that's an injury. So now we have responsibility by the premises owners and the maintenance company of the escalator, right? Because they were supposed to provide a safe escalator for all customers or clients or visitors. Then you also have the negligence, right? Failing to apply the right tools to maintain the escalator, which caused it to malfunction. And then you also have injury, right? So you have that fractured femur that required a surgery. So this is the type of case that we at Onal Galant would actually vet and go through in our initial intake with the clients to find if there is a case or not.
Okay, nice. So is it negligence or carelessness?
Usually the words are interchangeable, but the word is negligence. I think the right way to say it is carelessness is included within negligence.
Okay. What is negligence?
Negligence basically is failure to do something the right way or not doing anything when there was an act that needed to be done. So if you hear the escalator, let's go to the escalator example. Failing to apply the oil or the lubricant to the escalator, that's a failure to act, right? Let's say step is required every month. Instead of every month, you do it once every 6 months. That's an omission. That's something that you should have done and you did not do.
Right.
To keep the premises safe or to keep your car safe or to keep...
Okay.
An accident is obviously an overwhelming process. There's a lot that goes on. People get overwhelmed. People are in shock. So what do you advise the potential clients or just people in general do if they're involved in an accident?
When clients call and they've been in an injury, especially if they call me when they had an injury, because a lot of my clients, almost all of my clients have my cell phone number. So, when they have something very urgent, they call me. And so if I get a call from a client who says, they just got in an accident, I tell them a few things, right? Call the cops, make sure you get a police report, take photos of your car, of the damage to your car, of the other car, get their driver's license information, get their insurance information. If you're feeling pain, if you have any type of pain, go to the hospital, go to urgent care. I can't underline how important that is, right? That you get treated right away to show that it was the accident that caused your injuries, right? Because we get clients who ask me, what can I recover for? And that's a few things, right? It's your medical expenses, your property damage, your lost wages, your pain and suffering, and for the future, right? The settlements that us personal injury attorneys get, or, the verdicts that we get, those numbers, some people think, oh, you can get a big sum, if I get in an accident. Well, some of that is due to your future costs, right? The settlement that you're getting is a comprehensive settlement, which means that you're being paid for the cost of what it would maintain you to get treatment for the rest of your life. And so, I tell my clients these things, right? Take pictures, call the cops, get the insurance information, and then come in, get medical treatment, come in and talk to me. If we feel like there's a case, we'll take your case on. And then, after that, the process starts. And during that process, we make sure that our clients are in contact with us. We set up text groups with our clients. We make sure that, whoever's the case manager on their case is in the text chat. We make sure that the attorney responsible for the case is in the text chat. And we make sure that the client, and if it's, multiple people, if it's the client and the wife, for example, we make sure that they're both in the chat. So we get, speedy communication, we get fast communication and effective communication. And I think, and that speaks to who we are as a law firm.
Why should people hire Onal Gallant if they're involved in an accident? What stands out?
What makes us different is that we understand, that clients also have a life. Injury attorneys want their clients to get the necessary treatment and to make sure that they don't miss their treatment. It's easy to overlook that, everyone has a busy life, right? All of our clients, they're working 9 to 5, and so they have to make time. They have kids, they have a social life. And so we try to make the process as easy on our clients as we can. And that goes to, setting up appointments for them, taking care of small things that other law firms necessarily wouldn't take care of, right? Helping with the property damage portion, helping with the property damage. A lot of law firms don't bother, or they say that, that's not our expertise. We go out of our way to put that human touch because, every client is a human being. If you take on my case, what does the personal injury process look like?
That's an excellent question. It will really depend on each case. So cases usually involve Motor vehicle accidents. It's usually a different process than, for example, a trip and fall at a mall or medical malpractice. All of these different types of cases, and there are obviously others that I'm missing, they just involve a different process. Now, the elements I had mentioned earlier, which is responsibility, negligence, and injury, all of these elements are always present. So the elements are present in each of these types of accident, but each type really involves a different process and a different length of time, especially if that's the question. For example, a motor vehicle accident happens. You contact the attorney. The attorney sets up the paperwork to make sure your rights are protected, gathers all the documentation, makes sure that the case is taken off the right way. Then the client has to manage their own medical treatment. Now, some individuals do therapy, some don't feel like they need it. So that depends. The medical treatment alone could vary between a month, 2 months, or I have people who treat it for years, right? So it's difficult to close a case when the injury component or the picture about what the injuries are isn't clear, isn't finalized. So it's important to wait for the client to finish treating, so that obviously affect the time of closing the case. And then after the client is done with their medical treatment, what we do is we'll gather the medical records, we'll obviously put it in a package that's organized in a legal way, and we submit it to the insurance company for evaluation. Now, if the insurance company evaluates the records fairly quickly and they come back with an offer for compensation that we see as experienced lawyers as reasonable or close to reasonable, then we know that maybe a lawsuit is not necessary to kind of create that pressure. We don't need a resolution from the court because we feel like we can resolve it. The attorney and the adjuster from the insurance company have some sort of vision that this can be resolved pre-suit. So if that's the case, then the case could be over maybe within 2 or 3 months after the person is done with medical treatment. Now, if the adjuster undervalues the case or doesn't want to offer anything on the case when the attorney sees that there is value on the case, then the proper course of action is to file a lawsuit. Now, filing a lawsuit, that alone maybe will create a pressure on the insurance company to say, okay, this is now in court. We really have to look at this. Are we going to litigate it, or is it not worth litigating? Let's pay what is a reasonable amount we can agree on. So sometimes immediately after a lawsuit, a case can be resolved. If not, then the court process could take several years. Sometimes it's a year, sometimes it's 2 years. It depends on the venue and how many parties are involved, what the discovery is. Are you hiring experts, or experts are not needed? The documents that are being gathered, are they, voluminous? Are they a lot? Or maybe it's a couple of doctor visits. So all of these things matter. And then you have to put the case on trial. You have to do depositions, you have to exchange discovery, do a medical examination for the client, and then you are ready for trial. And, sometimes cases settle the eve of trial. Sometimes cases can settle during trial. And sometimes a verdict is obtained and then, a deal is worked out, So it really varies a lot. But usually the answer to that question is depends on the type of case, the type of discovery involved, the treatment. It really depends on a lot of things. But usually medical malpractice cases do tend to take a very long time.